So what is a structural repair? Well, a structural repair by definition is a repair that has to do with the structure of a building, a house, so forth. So if you were to figure out what walls carry the load of the roof, any repair to those walls would be considered structural. It would not be considered a structural foundation repair, but it would be a structural repair. So let's look at this house. With this house has stucco down to this spot right here. So this all the way up to the roof line is framing. There's stucco here, but it is framing inside of stucco. That is the framing of the house. Down below this spot right here is foundation. So normally a structural or foundation repair has to do with the vertical walls below the ground on the perimeter of the house. That wall extends to here. This is the same wall. This is the same foundation wall right here. This is not. This is stucco for the covered by framing, covered by stucco. This is foundation wall. So a structural repair to this house, that's a foundation repair, would be working on the lower wall. We're in the garage of this same house. So additional structural repairs would be repairs to the roof trusses or the beam. Now in this garage, you can see right behind me, that beam is a structural component to this room. And the beam that holds up the middle of the house, the floor of the middle of the house, is also a structural component. We're now in the basement of this same house, and this wall right here is holding up the upstairs middle of the house. And you can see it is on a concrete base right there. So this is called a framed wall, and this framed wall holds up the middle of the house and goes all the way up to the roof ridgeline. We're in the basement of a house now, and you cannot tell, my previous video showed what the main beam wall was. Well, you certainly can't tell that here, can you? Because all the walls basically look the same. But there's the exterior perimeter wall, that is a load-bearing wall, that is concrete underneath that drywall. And this middle wall is called the main beam wall, which holds up the middle of the house. And then if we proceed to the back of the house, this back wall is also a load-bearing wall, which holds the framing and the stucco above it on the outside. So if this wall is bending like it was, and that's why these earth anchors are in place, then that is a structural repair. Usually, structural repairs like the repairs that were done on this wall require permits and engineering. You can do very few structural repairs without that. So when you're thinking about what needs done on a house that you may be buying or a house you're selling, just pretty much remember that any structural repair is likely going to incur permits and engineering by the local municipality that you're in. Now this is in the United States, but those structural repairs, most counties and most municipalities think this is a fairly serious issue. You're messing with the structure of the house or the structure of the building, and therefore they want to make sure that an engineer has read through this and made recommendations and written a plan that will then be on file with the county that the repairs were done properly. For instance, on this bowing wall, this bowing wall repair for these earth anchors that were put in place required permits and engineering. What it means is that the engineer saw the process and the procedure for installing these earth anchors, and they will do what's called load calculations. And load calculations will tell us, were they spaced properly? Do the other end of the anchors go out far enough into the yard for the soil to hold the wall in place? They go through all of these calculations to determine whether it was done properly. Now, some engineers are different than others. Some engineers require a site visit, which means that they have to see what's being done. They may want to see how much soil has been taken out. They may require a soils report, which would tell you what the soil is like in this particular area. They may want to see if you installed the earth anchors or beams or piers or whatever product is being used. They want to make sure that that was installed properly because they're putting their signature on the plan. Then the final step for that engineer is to write what's called a final letter. That final letter says that everything was done proper, all the specifications that I gave were followed, and the repair is valid. And then that final letter also will be filed with the county so that the county has the full or city has the full record of what kind of work was done, that it was done properly, and that there's no worries as far as structural integrity. Well, finally, some engineers want to make sure what's actually happening. They may want to be on site while the repair is being done. They may want to do personal supervision, and then the customer is billed for that. Many of them don't. Many of them have seen these types of repairs many times, so they won't all require that. But it is common for some engineering firms that they're more cautious than others and that they will need to make sure that everything was done properly based on actual observation.